Okay, so at least the rest will be recording.
Certification. Okay, I wanted to come.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. So we tentatively put a date on the map of February 9th, February 9th. And so, yeah, you're locked in. That date is all yours. Was it day or evening programming that you were gonna? 12:30, yes, so afternoon programming. So yeah, the idea that I would do stuff, like I said, pre-campus stuff is one thing I'm more than happy to do. Like if there's radio interviews, if there's people from the town or even the school press who would like to just, get on the phone and talk about stuff, just a juicy event. I'm all over that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally have a meeting with our observer tomorrow. I'm a assistant editor. Yeah, I could bring that to everybody else in the JT crew and try to get in contact with someone in the J1 or personal. I'd be recently with another.
Published person right there.
Yeah, so I'm happy to do that at any point, like I said, just to make sure the word is out there. Also, I don't know if there's any specific departments that you maybe want to approach, but when it comes to the civil discourse, sort of the gut of where the program lives, I think the departments that would be the most impactful would be any of the media departments, like if there's journalism, if there's TV or whatever, whatever civic, things might be done here. Even people who are doing civil rights stuff, that comes up in the conversation about being in effective messaging. I use part of the civil rights movement as a model for how effective messaging can then move an issue or move an idea. Anyone teaching psych classes, because I talk a little bit about the whole idea of confirmation bias and all the other types of bias that lead people to believe only what they like to believe. And so I'd be more than happy to just, I've got you were on our website for a second.
Yeah.
You can't share your screen with everybody else.
No.
Because yeah, on the website, I have what I call a faculty and staff invitation letter that you can just download. Put the date, put the information in, and then it just sort of says, here's what's important about this program. We really like you to think about bringing your classes, giving extra credit, whatever the case may be. And if you want to talk with this guy, here's his phone number. Maybe you've got time to squeeze him in a class or something. So I
All that, that might be actually a great idea to promote that with at least Ms. Bonner, at least.
Yeah, that would be
Sure,
great.
he's probably welcome.
Yeah, so the best person contact I the editor in chief right now is Lenny Mullen, worked with over the summer.
You got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we also have Stephanie Williams, chief diversity
Yes.
officer.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also have.
Brewer Center.
Yeah, you might be able to end up the Rural Center to help with some funding.
Oh, that would probably be-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you familiar with Pittsburgh's Friends of Abolition Park?
I am not.
So there is a movement in Pittsburgh to have an abolition park for, I don't even say, but they have turned this lot into a full-on history of all the people who were abolitionists here in the town of Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
Yes, and this started here at
Wow.
and the person he's gonna compete with this, I forget his name, but I've talked to him multiple times. And I can get in contact with him, he's the one who drafted.
David T-Bone Nunez.
And
David T.
It's-
Azu's dad.
Yeah.
No kidding, we have a
Our
contact.
contact.
Yes, he started this,
Awesome.
and he's a huge activist, not only with Abolition Park, but like literally all over. And he just,
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, that to me would also be a nice tie-in, because you have somebody in the community who is a, on the ground, activist. Here's the thing, like, my approach is very specific. Not everybody believes what I believe. like I was talking with somebody at the library conference about, the necessity for something like Antifa. And I'm like, yeah, anti-fascist is a good thing. Beating people's asses, not so much. And so we were just sort of going back and forth on that thing because there are different approaches, but my whole thing is like if you want to be effective, sometimes you have to work within the structure that somebody else is living in. You have to talk to where they are, not just yell at them about what you think. And some people don't believe that. Some people just don't. And that's fine. I mean, that's fine, because there is no one way to do this. But like I said, it'd be interesting to have, potentially different points of view that could be brought up. And also anyone who's doing like on the ground activism, direct action, yeah, I'm theory, he's practice. So yeah.
We could probably also like promote it on Ready, because they're ready and tentatively, I think they were trying to do for spring semester, right? I'll know more on Monday when we have a meeting,
Yeah.
but it could definitely be something we can promote on.
And even
Ready
though
by
it's
then.
like a pilot too, because if we can get the event on there and have at least like the groundwork for what to become later on. For future events.
Yeah, we have our first meeting on Monday, so we'll definitely bring it up.
Cool. Anything else?
So how do you think your previous experience with colleges have gone? That's bad enough, but when you're there, what do you find waiting for you? Is it a similar thing that we're talking about when you notice from this meeting that you've been doing a difference?
Oh, Jesus. Well, first off, this is almost a never done. I can probably count on one hand out of the probably close to 1,300 shows that I've done, that I've actually sat with a bunch of, organizers beforehand and really organized things. Usually it's like, are you free this date? Okay, great. Can you send us an invoice? And then, like, do you guys got a newspaper? Oh, yeah, we're on that. And then never. You can go on my site and there is a media page, and we haven't had an article written in, I don't know, 2.5 years, just because people are scrambling, COVID made everything wacky. And so this is great. This is great for what it is. And like you said, I just give you that money. Give it out. Because seriously, like I'm not gonna talk to you. Because if you need things, I'm happy to make that happen. Most schools, when it comes to doing this program, I will, like I told you, depending on how we do it, there's the short version and there's the extended version. And when I do the extended version, I actually have opportunities for people to actually get up on their feet and actually try to manage a basically a contentious discourse. Everybody fails. Everybody fails. And at least the first time. I've had a few people who the second time you can really see them just wincing because they're like, I don't want to be reasonable. So to do both would be great. Once again, that's just a longer session. It doesn't add anything more to the cost. But I know sometimes you're locked into a very specific time window.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I always like doing that because hearing the theory is great. Doing it shows people, wow, this is like, this is like learning to lift weights. You're gonna be sore the first couple of times, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. So yeah. I just want to bring it because we did talk about a possible second program, the Hellfighter one.
Yeah.
I don't know where we were with that thing. It was just off the table, and I just wanted to get left out if it was still in thoughts.
So this is when we had the previous couple meetings that we had tentatively, Kathy set up the 9th and the 8th. So when I was talking about the decision between the two programs on the screen, it's on the screen. The multiple program that he does is that if we wanted to dig deep for the funds and stuff, it is possible to extend and bring it into another day and have the event stretched out a little bit farther and have another dialogue opportunity there too. So that's completely on the table for the 8th. And obviously, we can say it now, but it is possible.
Yeah, I would say to that end, if we structured that, if I'm gonna be here for 2 days, whether it's 2 afternoons or whatever, I would probably almost guaranteed lock out that evening. So the daytime of the night would be great, and maybe so if it's an evening event, like a community event, then I would just come as early as possible and do as much as I can. Yeah, I'm sure, I just wanted to know, I'll see if they need help in the cafeteria, you know.
They do.
Okay. I can cook, I can boil an egg, I can do it. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, but let me know, and if you do there will be a cost reduction, because basically you're keeping me in one place for longer than just, a few hours. I like that. It's nice to not have to drive all over the place.
It might be nice to have options too, because a lot of our things are during the day, since they can't come here during the day.
Oh,
yeah.
Particularly me, I can come here compared to anything at night, but during the day it's really hard.
But I do think we need to discuss this a
Yes.
little further.
Yeah, we'll still, yeah.
Feedback.
Yeah, so, I don't know what more you need from me.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, if you
That's
could,
very excited.
definitely email me with a quote.
Mhm.
And we can negotiate.
Sure, yes, definitely.
I'm a big negotiator.
Yeah, I'll start at 100,000.
And I'll come back at 1,000.
No.
I mean, again, like, we're pro bono, right?
Yeah, I know.
We're getting here. No.
Yeah, and again, this is where we can reach out to the River Center,
Right.
because they're grant funded. And this is exactly the type of program that they would sponsor,
Awesome.
so.
Stephanie.
And we talked earlier about using the student center too. If we are going to extend it out multiple days and bring on the pavilions and other
Yep.
efforts here on campus, then we can pace it out maybe a little bit better.
Right, we wouldn't put it in a closed room,
Yeah.
maybe like self-cap.
Do we have was for signing day? Was that stage that the performer was using the performers were using? Did they bring that or do we have an actual?
Oh, we have a
stage?
stage,
We have a stage?
yeah, it's set up in the self-cap right now, just don't go in there because it's a mess.
Yeah. Don't do not in last minutes.
Yeah, you're not in here, it's under
No, I
construction.
Oh, yeah. Anyway,
Great. Yeah, I don't know what more you need from me.
I feel like a lot of promoting can happen for us. We have a lot of, we have a
Yeah.
decent amount of time.
Yeah.
it's so like valued that it would be also easy to get other people on board.
Yeah, I think we'll get a lot of campus buy-in.
Yeah.
Yes.
And specifically, we do more, like we talked about earlier, making it an event. And to like support one, instead of just like throwing them out, like, here, here's a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Like, haven't been wrong.
Yeah, no, seriously. Just carry me around, just wrong.
I was gonna suggest getting a cardboard cutout. of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know Ron?
That's
You
the
will
promotion. We
Yeah,
have to make.
take a picture with the cardboard cutout.
Well, the whole
Now-
marketing
now I get a little
thing,
scared.
that's the marketing committee.
Marketing.
Yeah, so, yeah, this sounds great. My only other question would be, what are some of the other community colleges or 4 years that are in the area that you know of?
So we have Fitchburg State,
Okay.
which is not far.
Right?
Quinsigamond Community College is in Worcester, there's a lot of Worcester,
Worcester.
we go to state. Worcester, oh, yeah. So we're about. Yeah.
Shrewsbury Street.
Worcester is
I was
like
on the Jefferson side.
what, 40 minutes
Oh,
south of us.
Yeah. So.
I know Shrewsbury.
So yeah, just because, like I said, the idea that I would just literally just come out here to Central Mass and
Yeah.
just pop around. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll just get a hotel room at that middle point
Yeah.
and just stretch out the day, come back and walk or curl up in a ball and read gently, go back out.
Hope
curl
that's
up in a
not
ball.
snowing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. That's the other thing I really want to have happen, because a lot of times schools in the prairie area, like South Dakota, North Dakota, and Minnesota, they will book me. Because they'll book me now because they know nobody wants to come. And so if they don't get them early, they don't come at all. And so please don't send me back there. So cool. I guess we're good to go. You guys didn't say anything. You said something like
There's a lot of energy.
Oh,
Eli's enjoying the energy.
okay.
Yeah, I'm really impressed you made the trip out here. And like I try to look at the website and talks you did, and I like the message. I'm interested in the other talks as well. I think when I originally talked to Cody and Justina about it and how they met you, I really was enamored with the story. And I think potential speaks or talks later on for a different like Black History Month or something would be, I think, really appropriate with other material that you're an expert in. So I really enjoyed it.
Great, thank you. If I could just, woo you guys with a simple story for a second. By the way, it was only an hour and like 10 minutes to get here. So it was like nothing. Big deal. So the conference I just did, the New England Library Association conference, they called me this spring just out of the blue. Didn't know how they heard from me. They're not in my database. And as we're talking and we're starting to book things, I asked, how did you hear about me? And they said, well, we were doing a conference in Hartford and some guy just mentioned you. I was like, oh my God. Flash back to last October, where I was at the NACA conference in Hartford, and the NACA is in a National Association Campus Activities. And I got there late. And so they wouldn't let me set up my booth, my display material. I'm begging this guy. He's an old dusty dude. And I'm like, please. And he's like, oh, fine, I gotta watch it. I'm like, whatever. And so he starts talking as I'm setting my stuff up, and I tell him what my work is all about: inclusion and understanding, compassion, and engagement. And he says, well, I'm a Christian, and there's just certain things that blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, here we go. And so I say, well, I'm a Christian too. And I grew up in a Christian household. My mother was a reverend. And I believe that, had I been born somewhere else, my orientation of faith might have been different. Because why would that surprise anyone? That's why there's other things that happen in other places. Music, the hymn and the Bible, the one true God, and all that. And I said, if God is infinite, the ultimate and infinite and all-knowing, how can man conceive of it? We don't have the ability or the bandwidth to understand the infinite. And so maybe what's more accurate is that spirit is allowing people to see it the best way they can digest it. And so maybe it's different in other places because that's what works in other places. And by the way, I don't have to be right, and you don't have to be wrong. And he's just sort of, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, and he brings up somebody else who he knows who happens to be an African American and communist. And I was like, yeah, I know the guy's work. And honestly, he's just a little too incendiary for my taste. And he's like, wow, he does say that he's a little bit of a grenade thrower. I was like, yeah. And he's like, you're a smart guy. I'm like, well, I'm a guy, at least. Like, trust me. So anyway, for the rest of that NACA conferences, small groups of students keep coming up to me and saying, that guy at the door told us to come talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And so flash forward to another conference in Hartford, the library people have been, and that's like in December or whenever, and he's still telling people about me. And so I just really felt validated that the approach I try to take with people seems to have impact. So yeah, just being decent and listening and so on, we need more of it, that's all. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Yay. So thank you Eli, for your statements. Yeah. Please, did you go on YouTube to see the work that's there?
I did, yes. I was able to see the recording. I like went on your website and then I searched for your name and stuff on YouTube. So you're all over the place. I mean, you just have to put in a little bit of effort to see some good material out there. It's not all junk on YouTube. There's a lot of good stuff, and you put it out there. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, if you can see, I don't have civil discourse up, any of those videos up. Mostly because they just aren't edited yet. But you can see pieces of almost every one of my performance programs on YouTube under dialogue. So yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be willing to listen to more if you have some to share. If you have direct links or something. I don't,
Oh, yeah.
just to support you.
The other thing I would say is on my webpage, there's the DODU link. If you go there, several of the shows are broken down into what I call curriculum models or curriculum blocks, and I have written curriculum that supports those things. Because it talks about a very specific issue. It might be Martin Luther King's Poor People's Campaign, or it might be his Beyond Vietnam speech. It might be the blowback from the O.J. Simpson, trial. Because one of the things I want people to understand is that these things are not just a cultural bubble. There's usually a narrative that got us to that point, and then it's all how we react, what we learn, or what we focus on. And so my thing is always trying to focus on how power informs dynamics, and then how non-dominant narratives are affected by it. So yeah.
Can I ask if there's like a certain speaker like as an inspiration you draw upon? I mean, it seems like you have a lot of inspiration and like good teachers that taught you. I was just curious to learn from them as well.
Old school would be King, of course. James Baldwin is, oh my God. Read the books and they'll be great. Find interviews of him talking. Wow. Seriously. God, Pacho. What's his first name? Guy who does uncomfortable conversations with a black man. Emmanuel Acha. He is great. There's another guy. He runs a social justice program out of Mississippi, and I can't bring his name to mind right now. They all sort of live in the same place with this, which is we have to talk to each other, even though it might be hard. And I can't walk away from that discussion trying to make you believe what I believe. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to share. What you get, I don't know, but I'm always going to be in an open space, because if we don't do that, how does anybody get past anything? We just won't. And so I will tell you a few people to read. There's a great book called This Is an Uprising that really talks about the nature of social and civil movements and the sort of the ebb and flow that makes one. I would read Ai-jen Poo's book. That's all about workers. She basically is an advocate for low wage workers, generally females of color. Sort of aside, the new Michael Eric Dyson book, Starry Messenger. It's just an affirmation of humanity, seen through a physicist's eyes, and how we are like just a beautiful little thing flying through the stars. And it's just a beautiful book. Yeah, I got a list. In fact, I have a book list, and I'm happy to send it along.
Yeah,
You can be a link to the website too.
Yeah, the book list is actually broken down into cultural groups. There's Native Americans, there's women, there's Black women, there's Asian, once again, people with disabilities, on and on and on, because there's at least one or two good central books that don't just tell a story, but they give you insight into what the challenge is, because that's the big thing. Every marginalized group has a challenge. whatever it is, and that's what I think the dominant groups don't necessarily understand, first and foremost, because they don't have to. Unless you're living it, you don't be surprised when people overlook it. And once you understand that better, then you better understand that when people are asking for stuff, usually it has nothing to do with asking for something special. It has nothing to do with asking for something that you don't deserve. And most importantly, it's almost never about blaming someone. Once again, there might be parts, no one culture is responsible for everything. But there are powers within certain dominant cultures that definitely influence them. And so people get bent up in that difference between the two. And that's what I want people to understand. It's never everybody. And it's just enough, to make something happen. Just to give you a concrete example, and I'm gonna be laughing at this. So, this is in my Health Fighter program. I think I told you about, I showed you this one. Yeah, So anyway, the GI Bill was written in 1943/44 to support all of those war people coming back from the war. But the head of the Veteran Services Committee was a Mississippi senator named John Rankin. And John Rankin refused to let the bill out of committee until he was allowed to let the states administer the program directly rather than the federal government administer it directly like other major federal programs. And he did that because he knew the states had more power to turn people away because they had to show up in your office, turn in their paperwork. And so that is the reason why over 96% of all Black soldiers in World War II never got their GI Bill benefits. And I don't expect the average white soldier or their spouses and parents and children to know that, because it wasn't happening to them. And because they weren't living next to the people it was happening to, there was very little reason to communicate it. So that's how one man influenced an entire system, and the ripples rippled out, because you don't think about the fact that maybe now there are guys going, why are these Black guys in college with us? And taking the money, maybe they're just lazy. Or why can't they open their own businesses? Or why don't they buy nicer houses? It's a ripple out that only perpetuates a negative narrative, because no one is aware of how the narrative has been warped. And by the way, lots of women didn't get their GI Bill benefits either. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that they were pushed back into the house. They just like, get married, have some kids. No, I want to go to college. I want to open a little, shoe store in the corner. I want to do something. Nope. You're a woman in the 50s. This is what you do. And so the idea here is that nobody was saying that to anybody. And so that's how the biases work themselves out. That's how they work themselves into a societal and institutional structure.
And that's why it's dialogue and diversity, right?
So yeah, that was, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah.
Is there a interrupting somebody?
No, I was just gonna mention I was just gonna say thank you for sharing those resources. Like, no one is an island, and I feel like if you have those resources, that just shows how much you're dedicated to the cause and how much you're willing to share. And I'm a big proponent of advocacy, and I love learning from people like about how to do it better. I think we all could learn from each other. So I really appreciate your help and my education, and I think you have something to share with this campus, and I look forward to seeing more of your speaks and talks, and thanks.
Same. And if I can just a quick second, I was a little bit here, but that is what draws me to bring him on in the first place. This is the commitment and the sheer will to continue this even after the conversation is over private resources. When I was at the conference, I wanted nothing more to go to the conference and then go get pizza, explore the city. But after hearing his keynote, thank you. After hearing his keynote, I literally stopped. I was there to do other keynotes. I literally stopped and held him up for 20 minutes. Probably made him like for a bunch of things.
Yeah, but no, yeah, he was like a barnacle. I Spanish king, he had a ship, he was breaking.
Oh, he's been raving about you.
Funny.
Yes.
Funny. Oh,
And so
Yeah.
everything he said about just the dialogues is why I feel like it's important that he at least gets one day on our campus to talk about this stuff. It's one thing to know history, and it's another thing to learn from why. And I feel like this is the one, I feel like
Yeah.
people have to tell them.
What's that?
I said I can wait for my husband, so he's gonna love it,
Wow, awesome.
love it.
So cool. Well, I will leave you all to the rest of your governing. Your.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're gonna stick, I know how to get out, so.
Are you sure?
And then turn and then walk into like.
Down there, take a right, there you go.
That is Gardner.
That seems to not.
Yeah.
Now it's happy.
Yeah.
But my goddaughter lives in Pepperell and it's even more.
Yeah.
So you went to high school and?
Yeah.
When did you graduate?
04.
Oh, because a friend of does Mark Buchanan still do set design for the school?
I don't know. I haven't been back there in a really, really long time.
Okay, well, he would have been there, like, he probably started in
Yeah.
'04 and just,
Yeah.
lived through the Spanish flu and he's just, he's an old buddy of mine, so cool, anyway.
Thank you so much.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd like to, because I'm assuming after our conversation earlier, I'd like to, make a motion to, approve SGA starting committee, marketing committee. So moved.
Second.
Alright, doing it to Nikki.
Who do you get every other committee?
Okay, is there any more discussion on this? Anybody? No, okay. All in favor of, starting the marketing committee? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay. Unanimous. So, now we need to vote for a chair.
So you can just appoint somebody.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna appoint. Oh, wait. I don't know, Justina's here all the time. So I think I'm gonna do Justina as the chair of the marketing committee. Who leads, and then. I'd say if we wanted to have a vice chair, Nicole would probably be vice chair,
Okay.
but yeah. So chair and vice chair, Justina and Nicole. Okay,
Sounds good.
the next prospective committee is a recruiting committee. So we're thinking like to have a committee specifically for and we can have more people go on to the marketing committee. But just for the sake of time, I wanted to bring up the other few things for Ren has, and you have to be too, right? Okay, so the recruiting committee, would SGA want to have a committee specifically for the purposes of recruiting?
Was this discussion?
Yeah.
I
Um,
feel like, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I feel like that should be like a general purpose of the SGA is to have recruitment. And if we feel like we're not doing a good enough job of that, if we feel like we're lapsing, I feel like it's then important to have like a dedicated role. So to make sure that at least it's getting done, that someone has to report to going into these meetings. But I feel like it's just like feeling of the room.
Ben says, wouldn't it just fall under marketing?
That was my thought. It sounds like marketing, like you should kind of converge those, and if you're having trouble with it, maybe expand from there.
Yeah, because I don't know what would a recruiting committee, what would it be, like, what would it do to recruit people?
I mean, we just doubled in size, like without a committee, then Didn't we send stuff? Yeah.
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 Keep it running.
So just one of the things, so. As we just finished elections. Before we know it, we're gonna be into the spring semester and already looking to the spring elections, so that's when you have to do heavy recruiting. And that technically falls under the Constitution Committee. Because they are technically in charge of the elections. So that might be something, could be like an offshoot of the ways, and I mean, the Constitution Committee, as we get closer to elections, to say, okay. Constitution Committee, now we really have to focus on heavy recruiting and building up the who's gonna run for elections in the spring.
So like,
I would say, maybe for the sake of time, maybe we could table it, 'cause I know YouTube will have, so maybe we can table it, and talk more about it. And kind of come to a decision as to whether or not, like, we wanna combine it with another committee. And just have that committee be kind of like responsible for it. But we can table that, and then, the wreath decorating committee, that kind of has to be decided now, I think, probably because we're running out of time. So just real quick, does SGA as a whole want to make a wreath? I think personally, I think we should, but I want to share, because it's, you know,
We're expecting all the other, we would like all the other organizations to do it, and we want to lead by example, don't we?
yes,
So I think we should.
so that.
Sorry.
Sarah. I would say, just that being said, everybody on the screen, are y'all in agreement with that?
Making a wreath.
As you look a little confused.
I just have a resting, confused face. I
Okay, so. I want to move to everybody, yes.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm gonna, oh my gracious, entertain a motion to build a wreath decorating committee. Just for the rest of the remainder of this semester, so we can start building our wreath.
So moved.
second.
I second. I mean, yeah.
Okay, any discussion? We just kind of had that. All in favor?
I
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. We now have a wreath decorating committee. I'm gonna,
Who's creative?
yeah, let's say who's creative
wait. I have a question.
there.
When with the wreath, is the wreath decorating committee going to be making the physical wreath, or is it just the ideas?
No, making that committee will actually make the wreath, go and do all the
Yeah.
labor.
So,
Can I be part of the committee?
yes, so.
Me too.
Ren can be the chair, Ren's gonna be the chair, Sarah and Azul will be also on, hold on, I'm gonna write it down.
We can talk about it at our meetings.
Ren.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're off week.
Oh, yeah.
We can talk about it next week.
Yeah.
As
Virtual.
Okay, so we at least have 3 people on the wreath decorating committee. Yes.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Wait, we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, okay. Okay. Alright. So. Okay, that's good to know. Holy, okay, I gotta remember. Table, not table, table, okay. Alright, and so then the last one, is for the retention plan, liaison, which we can also at this point probably table for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Because. Yeah, that's just, so I haven't even emailed Missy yet,
Yeah. same one.
so we're gonna table that. External reports, I'm sorry, Jason and Candace, this has lasted quite a while, but leadership team. Jason?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Cody, thanks for bringing Ron in. It was good to, I haven't seen him in a long time. It was good to hear from him. And I'm really excited that he's coming to campus. We will not be disappointed to have Ron visit with us on our campus. So in terms of updates, I don't, in the spirit of time, I'll be very, very brief. Just wanted to make an announcement that we are bringing finalists to campus. I'll send this information to Chloe for our Chief of Campus Police and Public Safety position. Our former Chief of Police, Karen Colamago, retired in August. And we have been going through a national search. We have 4 candidates that we will be bringing to campus, and there will be a time for students to meet with those candidates. It will be a lunch meeting. It is not formal. We obviously, the candidate needs to eat lunch during the day. They have a full day interview, and we're going to have an opportunity for students to have lunch with those candidates because student feedback is really important. So all students will be invited, but would really love to have elected student government leaders participate if possible. It would be amazing if you could see all 4 candidates so that you could talk a little bit about your preference, but really any candidate that you could see during one of their 4 visits would be great. So I will send that information to Chloe, and perhaps we can review it as a group. I do want to let folks know that our first interview is next week on November 2nd. And that lunch is at 12:30, and we're still confirming where that's going to be. Right now it's tentatively scheduled in the boardroom, but I'll get something out to students in the next couple of days. And then the remaining 3 interviews will be later on in the middle of November because we have NECHI that next week on campus. So we're not doing anything for those 3 days. So I'll send that information out, but 4 finalists to campus for the new Chief of Police.
Thank you, Jason. And I'll get that out to everybody once you get that to me. And then Candace, do you have anything?
Just one thing I can think of, and you're probably not going to remember when it actually happens, but and you may not. It may be a little trickier than I think, but I still wanted to put it out there. I've been debating all night whether I should say something. There are some classes that you all are taking that the way that you're going to evaluate your faculty member is going to be different. Most of the classes that you're taking, I shouldn't say most, some of the classes that you're taking right around the beginning of December, you're going to get an invitation to basically evaluate your faculty member, but it's going to be online. It's not going to be in class like it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. I just wanted to put that out because that's your opportunity to give your 2 cents about, your education. If it's all the same to you, Chloe, I'll repeat it again in November so people can remember, but it's a drastic change of how we're evaluating at least full-time faculty than it has been before. And just quickly, this is one of those things that we're barking through the union. So this is 2 years in the making. And right now, I think the deans and people like that are figuring out how they're going to do it. But it is going to be something that you either, it's going to be something that you're going to have to do online. And I just wanted to make you all aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Candace. And yeah, just because of the way my brain works, you may or may not have to send me a reminder on that. Just because I will probably remember that off the top of my head.
Oh, I'll say it again in the next meeting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, cool. Old business. Solutions for conflicting events was on there as old business. I don't know if we wanna table that for a second time, probably, because. It's getting late and we just lost
Yeah.
half of our group. Which
Yeah,
is-
if you lose one more person, you don't longer have a
Three.
quorum.
4, 5, okay. Sorry, I had to count that out loud. So that's how I'm working right now. Okay. Tables. Adopted organization, we also lost most of, we talked a little bit
Like, you
about
talked
it
about it,
earlier.
okay, good.
And then, the vending machine, any new updates on the vending machine, Jason?
I went to Auto Tech today. Both vending machines were working when I went there today. And I talked with the folks at Auto Tech. It looks like those are fixed. But we'll just keep paying attention to those. In terms of the fresh vending machine, we're still doing that search process. We are also going to be in the process of launching a Green Street Cafe director position. Our director, who has been with Mount Wachusett for a long time, is retiring in April. So we will be filling that new position as well, and I'll be looking for students to be on that search. We'll probably start that search in February.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, can I just make a note, just a comment about vending machines? I noticed even yesterday, the vending machines that are in South Cap. Kyle had to come out because things were getting stuck in it, and I know the drink machine out by the corner bites, same thing. People, drinks get stuck in there all the time. So I think the biggest issue on our campus is the drink machines.
Yeah. So like that's probably not something, like that's a problem with the machine itself, not necessarily like, you know, so if the company would have to switch out a whole different machine, like 3 of them, right? 'Cause we got.
Yeah,
3
it
sets.
seems like whatever machine, the type of machine they put in there is having issues. And they're consistent issues.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed that too. And other people have come to me with that and they're like not happy with it. I don't know if that's something that where you could be maybe trying to work on getting it fixed. But we should also probably table that. We can always come, yeah, we'll come back to that as well. Okay, so for new business, the Neshi site visit discussion. We want to be talking about like how do we prepare for that? How can we prepare other students for that for when the Neshi team does come? I sent that out. I'm pretty sure I sent that out with the agenda. And again, we're missing half of our group now, but those of you who were here, did y'all get a chance to look at that?
No.
No. Okay, that's something that can't really be tabled because it's, maybe, so maybe, what's the next week? Next week is the 2nd. So if I go to the committee meeting, then I can talk with them about it at the committee meeting, but for those of you who are here, it is. I'm sorry, hold on, I lost it. It's I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it. I should have sent it out. Yes, okay, so the Neshi site visit is gonna be November 6th through the 9th. And so kind of like we want to be able to answer, we want to be prepared for when they like, because they could ask any of us at like any time, kind of any questions, or any other students at any time, any questions. And so we want to be prepared for that. Kind of like come up with quick answers of like how, like, you know, how is our experience here? What is, you know, how are students getting involved? How do they know about these things? Like, so some of the questions are on the document that was sent out with the agenda. So please take a look at that. and we can send out a reminder email, so everybody can look at it, before the committee meeting, and I'll try and make it a point to be there. At least for a little bit before you guys start all your committee stuff. I will hop in and so we can discuss this a little bit, because it's kind of important that, one, we have answers. Okay, Ben, that's good to know, thank you, I'll get it out to you as soon as possible. But it's good for us to know how to like be able to answer questions and to be prepared for that. But also we want to be able to prepare the other students for that, because I don't know how many of them actually know that these people are coming. So we want to be able to like let them know, you know, hey, somebody might be asking you questions. Please, you know, think about it and, you know, give them your honest answer. You know, we want, obviously, we're gonna be honest with them on like, we want students to be honest. Because if there's something that they want to be seeing happen differently, you know, we want to be able to help that and change that. Although it would have been helpful to know that beforehand. But we want to be able to prepare students and let them know that these people are going to be coming to ask questions. So we'll talk about that more at the committee meeting with everybody. Announcements.
And I just woke up some quick one thing. Sure. About this thing. You know how the Pro Center is doing a forum for the upcoming midterm ballots? Is it possible that we can quickly just get something together for students, that we host a criminal space meeting where students can come talk to us about specifically this and just get that word out? Okay, we're gonna be here. But the next site visit, here's what we can talk about. We have this what you can expect, here's some questions that you can ask or whatever. Not trying them, but like,
Yeah,
make them aware. Okay.
I mean, you could, SGA could create an event on Baldmount and have students come. One of the things I had suggested to Chloe was that maybe you just really focus that at the, when who's ever at the booth, that be the main focus of your booth activities.
Like, hey, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah,
And then that might make them be that might have them stop and then be like, oh, yeah, no, and then ask them the question. And then allow them to give an answer and be like, great, okay, I just wanted to let you know. Like your answer is great, but I wanted to let you know that, you know, this team's coming and they might, if you get pulled aside to ask the question, you know, that could happen.
right.
Like, stuff like that.
So like your time at the booth becomes a little more proactive.
Yeah.
Anybody that's at the booth, as you see people walk by, you engage them as they walk by versus sitting and waiting for somebody to come and talk to you.
Yeah. Anything else regarding that, before we move on?
I just like whenever there's something like this that happens, or even events on campus, I usually, maybe my peers like ignore me by this point, but I always like stand up in front of class and like, hey, there's this going on, any input you can ask me, or you know, I usually get the professor's permission, but it's like, it's just a good thing coming from a fellow student instead of the professor telling them, hey, this is like, sometimes they're just like, oh yeah, there's this thing going on, just to remind them, you know, for a few classes. And I'm in big classes, so hopefully, you know, I think some of you guys are as well, so it's just a good way to spread the word just about what's going on.
Yeah, I think that would be okay. Yeah, I think that would be good if you could do that. They are coming, like I said, the 6th through the 9th. So obviously coming up close to that, you might want to be a little bit more subtle about, you know, reaching out. But we'll definitely talk about it on next Tuesday. All right, moving on, announcements. As we mentioned earlier, Candace has resigned and Corey has been removed from the SGA. So we're now down to 10 members. We did have Jeremy here for a little bit. And then he did have to leave early, which I don't blame him. It is a little late. So he is a prospective student. I mean, yes, he is a student. He's a prospective SGA member. So if he. Thank you, Jason. Sorry it's been so late. Have a good night.
Bye, Jason.
But anybody who is interested, you can, or if you know of anybody who's interested in joining SGA, the procedure for that after election is they have to attend 2 SGA meetings in a row. And then after the second meeting, they can send an email to me, or like, yeah, probably me, and then say, like express their interest for joining SGA. And then at the 3rd meeting, we can appoint them onto the SGA. So I don't know, Gabriel, thank you for joining us tonight. But we know that we have at least 1 prospective SGA member, possibly 2. So we did lose 2 tonight.
This one thing, that if you're trying to get them to join the SGA and you don't feel comfortable sending out an email or doing that initial reaching out, if you go on the SGA, I think it's still there on the SGA Google Docs, there is a letter that I've personally written that does just that. So if you don't feel like writing a letter or you just really want to snap and just get it done with, you can go to the SGA Google Doc, pull up my letter, replace the name of the person you're sending it to, and you can just send it off to them.
And it's not to be like quick and like, I mean, it's to be quick, but also like if somebody doesn't know how to structure something, that could be a helpful way of doing that. Cool. Any other announcements? Karaoke is on Thursday. And trick or treat is on Monday.
Monday, yes.
Any other announcements? Okay, so the next SGA meeting, so committee meeting is gonna be next Tuesday, which I believe is the 1st already, or is that the 2nd?
No, that's the 1st.
Yes, that's right. Oh yeah, it's Monday. Okay,
Monday's
so listen. Yeah, so next Tuesday, November 1st, for all of our committee members, as we have our committee meeting. The link is on the SGA page. I had a lot of people who were asking me last week, and I wasn't going, so I wasn't constantly on my email, being able to monitor that. It is on the SGA page. And the next bi-weekly meeting is November 8th. So I hope to see all of you there. Betty, Joe, and Adriana too. I'm sorry. I just, yeah. Are you guys also prospective SGA members? Or you just-
an alligator.
Me. Oh, okay. So 3 prospective SGA members. So that's cool. Okay, sorry. All right. Thank you everybody for coming. I call this meeting to adjourn at
What-
7.
Can I say one thing? Breast Awareness Day is Thursday as well, so you can wear
Yes.
pink in celebration or in support. I mean,
Actually, breast cancer awareness is all month,
What day?
all
No,
October.
but the college is on
Thursday,
Thursday.
right.
Everybody should be wearing pink on Thursday if you're coming on campus. It's a college-wide thing.
Right.
So
And there is a speaker
I'll be
at
wearing
11
pink.
o'clock that day.
Huh?
There's a speaker at 11 o'clock that day. There's a meeting.
Yes. But thank you for bringing that up, Eli. I totally would have spaced that. Okay, I call this meeting to adjourn at 7:48 PM. Okay.